All right, hey traders, TG Watkins here. That might help if I actually take the cap off the lens. You got to do that for privacy sometimes, right? You want to make sure that nobody's hacking into your computer and turn on your computer, turn on your camera when you don't know it. Anyway, thank you, Mirza. Looks like we're good to go, and should be plenty of people out there on Facebook and YouTube as well. And for anybody else out there who doesn't know me, just remember you can come over to simplertrading.com/Moxie if you like the way that I talk about the markets, if you like the way the Moxie indicator works and looks, which in this market has been having a great time since the market's been doing well. So we got a lot of things to talk about with that. So we could do that. And then I figure I was just out flying yesterday, picked up the airplane from my parents' place down in the Tacoma area, Gig Harbor area. And I got a couple pictures that you guys might like. Let's look here. This is when I landed up at Payne Field. So Jackie and I are going to go for a trip, an overnight trip to Friday Harbor coming up. Man, look at that sunset. And if you guys aren't familiar with Payne Field, it's basically, Boeing is where they are as well. And you can see that they've got, I think these are the 777 extended range. They're the ones with the folding wingtips. I think they're still having troubles certifying it. So these airplanes are built and just sitting there. And they have been here for at least 4 years at this point. I don't know beyond that because we've only started flying in here about 3 or 4 years ago. But pretty incredible. Those are big airplanes. The engines are off of them. And so you can actually see that, well, maybe not here, but if you look, each call it nacelle engine mount has basically imagine like one of those giant dumpsters filled with rocks. And so you can kind of see right there and right there, just a giant dumpster filled with rocks holding the engine mount down so that they can maintain the correct weight and balance. Because without that weight, I'm sure this thing would be tail heavy and be prone to tipping over backwards. So I thought that was a pretty cool shot. And let me show you. This was another thing where I was trying to get the light so it wasn't blocking everything. But you can see the winnings that we got from 2020 we decided to put into the airplanes and we updated the instrument panel. So up here, this is all new stuff. Nice Garmin equipment. We learned from our first one. We did the Glass Air, which was a complete glass cockpit. We didn't quite like it so much, so we kept a couple of the old school steam gauges. And so you can see we still have some old school gauges in there, but updated modern stuff. And then I'll show you a little video. Let's see so you guys can kind of see what this looked like up there flying over the Pacific Northwest. So just a great view. I'll show that again since it's kind of quick. Right over the water, just an absolutely gorgeous day up here in the middle of the summer. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. Be sure if you have any questions over on the Facebook and YouTube area, let me know, and we'll start, kind of diving into things. All right. And then also over in the Moxie room, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll be back with you guys 30 minutes after this one for the options room, and that'll be a good time. All right. Yeah, brighter side. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well also. Let's see. Watching DDD. That's okay. Yeah, you're watching some of the small caps. Yeah, let me get to those in a second because I want to get to kind of the overall market view of what's going on in through here. And I gotta say, this market is pretty darn strong. We were overbought. If we actually, let me bring this back just a little bit so that we can get some reference. So I mentioned this over the last few weeks because the last time we saw a very strong market that got overbought was back in 2020. And you could see both times we had on the S&P daily get very extended, and they got up and out from the daily third ATR, so outside of those things. And each of those pulled back fairly hard right here into a double bottom. And you can see they were a little bit different, but ultimately they were both double bottoms and both pulled back pretty hard. So I was mentioning that when we saw this condition right there, and you could see that we also had price get up outside of that third ATR. And so like, okay, we're expecting a pullback. We'll have to see where this goes. But the market, the indexes need a bit of a rest, and we weren't sure exactly where that was going to go. Now that we've kind of seen what's happening today and over the last couple of days, underneath the surface, the market has continued to be strong. maybe the mega caps are taking a break. Like remember, Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, yeah, they've been on a tear. They're going to take a break at some point because they've run a marathon and they held the market up, and now it's time for everything else to start running. So, brighter side to your point, yeah, IWM is starting to pick up. The Dow is starting to pick up. We're starting to see more broad-based participation in this market, which is fantastic. This is exactly what we've been looking for and waiting for, and excited to see. Of course, the SPY is going to continue up as well, but look at this. It is held the daily 21 pretty darn well. And the whole time that we've been saying this, I said, look, the indexes just need to rest a little bit. Not sure where they're going to pull back to, but overall, they're looking good. And you can see we ran into a double top right there into the 4th of July. But now you can see as of today, because of the cooler CPI reading, the market's making a new high. So this is also fantastic. It's really, really great to see. And forgot who I was talking to in the Moxie room, but we were talking about this negative divergence right here into this double top. And I said, yeah, I see it, but I'm not going to be too worried about it. I said, I don't want to short anything. I'm not going to say, oh, I think the market's going to roll over. I see the divergence, but I think that I think we're in a strong market. I think things are going to continue going up. It's just a matter of when. So I kind of called that out. And now what we're seeing is now here's some positive divergence that should be starting to come up like this. So we're getting a little bit overbought on the hourly chart, but overall things are looking pretty good. So, things are doing well. They're going up. If you were looking at this as an individual stock, I'm not sure I'd want to buy the SPY right here, right now. I think that there will be a better opportunity. Again, you just don't really want to buy when it's extended up here and here. You at least want to see if it can pull back or pull back or pull back. Okay. But overall, market's doing well. Things are doing well. Just find your spot to get in on some of these names. And let's see if we look at the IWM, because this is the other thing that I've been talking about. The IWM is starting to look fantastic. And in fact, the IWM was leading. The IWM broke out yesterday ahead of the market, ahead of the rest of the market, and ahead of CPI. So this has absolutely been fantastic. This is my kind of playground right here, seeing that the IWM is doing well and seeing the small caps start to really take off. So really, really happy to be seeing this. You can see there was the double bottom. There was the positive divergence with the Moxie indicator. And we even got a fresh Moxie price trigger yesterday, right there, yesterday, ahead of the CPI. So Moxie indicator got you into it. It's keeping you in. Things are looking good. And you can see we had a daily Moxie price trigger all the way back here. So it has been a go signal since end of May, beginning of June, end of May. So overall, we're looking good. And even the monthly, weekly timeframes are looking good. You can see we now have price back over the monthly 10, and this weekly chart just looks fantastic. So however long this is going to last, we just need to keep taking it. And yeah, things are looking good. All right, so with that out of the way, let's take a look at DDD. Brighter side, I have been noticing the 3D stocks have been making some waves. Now, remember, I was actually telling some people, it feels like kind of 2020 all over again. This is great. Now, hopefully it's not going to be so crazy or short-lived, but things are looking pretty good, and they just look right. They just look good. So yes, if you look at DDD, you can see here price coming down into the daily 50, the Moxie indicator crossing over 0. There's your double bottom, positive divergence, and it's working. It looks just like the IWM, doesn't it? So yeah, DDD is working out. You can look at PRNT, which is the 3D ETF. So PRNT, and look at that. That look awesome. Doesn't that look great? That looks like a very healthy, constructive, pretty chart. It looks really nice. And you look here on the monthly and weekly. Doesn't that just look fantastic? And look, you're getting a Moxie price trigger on the weekly chart, and price is getting over the monthly 10. So SSYS, is it NNDM? I think it was. I think that's a 3D printer. Yeah, it seems right. You'll have to double check me on that, but it's moving up. The 3D printing space is doing okay. It's coming up. So yeah, print, DDD, SSYS. Take your pick. They seem to be doing all right. Stitch Fix, yeah, we kind of mentioned that one also a while ago. Um, what I'm seeing is it had a really big move on earnings, and that was kind of what the shot across the bow. That was kind of the canary in the coal mine as far as a good thing. And um, I do think again, like DDD, these things are starting to work out. Now, I don't know how good they're going to be, but what I can say is they've stopped going down and they look like they're starting to try and go up. I don't know how awesome. I mean, look, Stitch Fix could be amazing. It could double. We have no idea. And or it could just kind of keep chopping around or kind of just, it could go up but not that much, like whatever. But I do think that it's done going down and it's looking constructive and it's starting to behave, and these things are really starting to look like they want to go higher. The question is how high and for how long. Okay, so if that kind of helps you understand that the general market flow, the wind is at our backs. That's what I'm seeing out there. So that's Stitch Fix. Say that 5 times fast. And Roblox, we're already in this one. I thought this one was more mature and developed than say other ones like Stitch Fix. And come on, there you go. And you can see here, geez, pushing every single button. And you can see in through here that I think it's been doing pretty well as far as building a base. And I think we're starting to move up and out on that. And again, I have no idea how well this is going to work, but I think it looks really good. And I think it's starting to move up and it's starting to move up. So we'll just have to see how that goes. One way to look at this, because let me just say, if we look at Riot, and totally different sectors, I get it, but some of these things can kind of build, and then pop. And Riot was a bit of a laggard compared to Hut and Mara in the Bitcoin space. You can see it was kind of lagging behind, but then all of a sudden it had to play catch up. So there's a possibility that Stitch Fix, could kind of, meander along and then suddenly catch a bid. So if you want to play it, put a little bit into it. I couldn't fault you. I think it looks good, and see if it can, start doing something for you. And yeah, so brighter side, IWM, totally. Everything's looking fantastic on it. Absolutely fantastic. DNA, one of the ARC names. Okay. Yep. DNA is also looking great. Look what's happening here on the weekly chart. You see how it's different. And those of you in the Moxie room, you guys know I talk about this all the time. Just look at the cross of the moving averages. You'll notice that over here and over here, the moving averages were below each other. Now they're above each other. And not only that, look where the Moxie price trigger fired. So again, if you guys don't have the Moxie indicator out there, it is really starting to work very well in this market, because finally we're starting to actually get something. Like the market's starting to turn around and the Moxie indicator is just right on it. I mean, look at that weekly Moxie price trigger. That is absolutely fantastic. And you come over here, DNA on the daily and hourly time frame. And once again, check out the Moxie indicator right there and right there. He even called a little bit of that pullback, but honestly, that pullback didn't do much. I mean, you were right there, right into that flag, and you could see there was a 50, 200, 50 maneuver. So a lot of the rules that I teach and that I talk about are really, really coming out of the woodworks and starting to just work. And this is because the market is finally starting to work, and the market is starting to really behave and treat things well. So very excited to be seeing this kind of stuff. And overall, if you look at DNA, it was pretty much just doing a flag right and through there. Notice how the daily 8 stayed over the 21 the entire time. We had divergence right here on the hourly chart, and up it went. Now again, is it going to go straight up? Probably not, but it looks like a nice, healthy name. And you just have to be prepared that there will be moments in time where price is also going to continue to flag. And gosh, you can even look, here, it came all the way back down. So I think this is actually one of the more normal markets that we've seen in a long time. It's been like 2 years that we've been in a bear market. Then it was, 2020 before that. And, it's been a few years since we've kind of had a normal market. I remember one of the subscribers, when I was giving a presentation a couple months ago, he's like, I don't know what happened. I've been trading for years and doing all right. And then this hit, and it's like, I forgot how to trade. Now, like, I can totally relate to you. Okay. It really, The last 2 years have just been an absolute mess. The market has been a mess, but now suddenly things are starting to look good, work out, follow rules and behave. And this is just a great environment. So yeah, if you can see here that when you start getting a little far away from the 8 EMA, you do tend to want to come back. And you can see here that DNA is a little bit far away from the 8 EMA. So you just have to be careful about chasing. Like if you wanted to get into, say, DNA today, that may not be the best place to get into today. So if you did get in, you're going to have to be willing to let it come back down before going up if it wanted to do that. You're going to have to factor in a little bit wider of a stop because you are not in a low entry. So for example, if you were in a low entry, you can have a fairly tight stop. But if you're going to get in at a high entry, you need to have a bigger stop because they could easily move down before going up and still be considered perfectly fine and normal. So be careful about that. And for those of you in the Moxie room, when I'm now in the Moxie and options room after I get done with this, we can definitely dive a little bit deeper and talk about some more of the things and the rules about the Moxie indicator. All right. Yeah, Austin, Apple for getting rejected by H50, the first clue. Yeah, you can also see that Microsoft was kind of doing that. I mean, again, if we look at Apple and maybe Tesla and Microsoft and what Nvidia and Google and Amazon and the big names, Facebook that have really just been going up, they're going to get tired at some point. And what was happening is those were kind of the only names that were doing well over the early part of the year and kept going. They were a flight to safety. And I think what's happening is, people and institutions are now starting to see that the rest of the market is doing okay. Inflation's coming down. The Fed is probably near done with interest rates. Even if they raise another 0.25%, they're kind of getting done with it. It's like they're not going to do another 1%. They're going to do these little fine detail things. So anyway, they were a flight to safety. That's why they kept going up like this. And at some point, they're going to get exhausted. They're going to get tired. They're going to get overbought. The risk to reward is not going to be there. And the percent growth is not going to be there as far as the chart goes. So money is going to rotate out of these names. They may not go down. They might kind of go sideways, but money is going to rotate out of them and move into the smaller cap names, the names that have been basing, the names that have a lot of growth potential overhead because they've been beaten down over the last 2 years. So keep that dynamic in mind. The other reason why, from a chart perspective, that these things are probably going to start wearing out, look at the weekly chart. These things have been an absolute beast, yes. But look, now they've started putting in gaps between price and the weekly 8 EMA, and they have been running the third ATR. They are tired. They have just finished running an absolute marathon by themselves, and it's time to hand off the baton. And I think that's why we're seeing, say, something like the NASDAQ start to kind of chill out, and we're seeing the IWM lead the way. Okay, just think about rotation. And you can see here, gap between price and the weekly 8 EMA, and big, prices starting to run outside of that weekly third ATR on the NASDAQ. So do not be surprised if you see this chill out and you start to see the IWM move up. And again, you can look at this channel that I drew here, and you can see that we are right up there at that top part. Well, what's likely to happen next? Probably going to go sideways to down to meet that lower part of the channel, just like it did here and just like it did here. All right. So anyone else have any other particular questions out there on Facebook and YouTube? Anything else like that? Because I think that's kind of the name of the game right now. I do want to talk about some more detailed stuff. I want to talk about some breadth. I am seeing that things are getting a little bit hot underneath the hood. But overall, good. So let's save some of this for the Moxie room and the options room when I'm with you guys. I'll be with you in about 40 minutes. So 9:30 my time, so 11:30 Central. And gone, let's see, QCOM for a long. It seems pretty good. Now, again, it might be a bit of a laggard. This is kind of one of those things is, do we want to be in a name that has not really been going anywhere this whole time? And yes, it might eventually catch up. Or do we want to go with the name that is leading the way? So I think Qualcomm is done going down. I think it will eventually go up. I just don't know if it's going to be a huge leader because it is a laggard. But that being said, just like DDD and some of the other things I've been talking about, yes, this looks perfect. This looks like this is a wonderful pullback into support, and it should start going up from there. You'll just have to, it just depends on what kind of racehorse you want to pick. It might not be the fastest one in the pack. It may not be the strongest one, but yes, it's gonna cross the finish line too, or at least it's going to participate in the race as well. I think that's what we're seeing here. So if that kind of helps you put it into context, then awesome. All right, guys. Well, remember, if you were interested in the Moxie indicator, we've got that. I'm working on a class. I want to get a class out there now that the market is doing well. I think it's time to start getting back into the education and starting really to teach this stuff again. So I'm going to be working on something that we don't have a date yet. And then, coming over. If you guys want the trading room, if you want the indicator, we're running deals all the time. And hope to see you guys there. Thanks. And Moxie, we'll see you in about 40 minutes. Take care, guys.